All right. We are live and it's good to see you all today. I hope you are doing well. We're going to get on started with this week in supervision, where I talk about some of the things that we've discussed in supervision with each of my groups. We get into some fun topics and try to get everybody involved and learn in the process. Right. And so I hope that's what you've been doing. I hope you can draft for some of these ideas that we're going to talk about and that we've been learning about this week. Well, today's title is Likes, Follows, and Reviews. What's ethical for social workers? Now, when we get to talking about social media, it gets kind of dicey because I'm not really sure that all of the rules and laws and policies that we have in social work, if they have caught up with what's going on with the technology. And if it has, sometimes it's not as clear as it might need to be. And we could find ourselves in predicaments. It's so important for us to help our supervisees to understand ourselves that our conduct on social media is very important, not just when it comes to who we'll let follow and things like that, but what we are representing, because this can definitely impact a lot of things, right? And so we have to be mindful of that. And so we may have individuals that come and they want to follow, they want to check us out. And actually, one of my supervisors discussed this actually happening to them, someone taking a look at their profile or something of that nature. So, but let's start. What I did, um, I mixed it up a little bit with this particular week, and we kind of went through a number of scenarios that might be of importance. I don't know if you've ever, let's just say if you're in private practice, what would you do if someone started to give you compliments about what you did online? Okay. What would be the steps? Is that appropriate? Should you respond? We're going to talk a little bit about that right now. So let's get into some of the scenarios here and see if you can answer correctly some of these questions, because, you know, I'm about to say this can be a matter of life or death. It actually can when it involves the safety of our client, but sometimes losing your license might feel like life or death as well. And if we make the wrong ethical decisions, that can happen. All right, so I'm going to go in and try to share my screen if I may, and we're going to get on to the scenario here. Our first scenario that we discussed during our supervision. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, so um, this is the situation. Want to see if you can answer this one, right? So you have a current client posts a 5-star Google review praising your therapy and mentions their diagnosis. You want to reply publicly to say thanks. What's the most ethical response? With you replying to them saying thanks, what's the most ethical response? Interesting question, right? All right. So, A, reply back to them publicly. Thanks, Jordan. I'm glad CBT is helping you with your panic attacks. Right? Or would you reply publicly by just stating a generic thank you, but no details? You kind of just, thank you and just kind of leaving it there, not saying that you did anything, not admitting or denying it. Okay. Or C, do not respond publicly. Instead, address the review privately with the client in session and explain confidentiality risk and review your policies on online reviews. Or D, ask other current clients to leave similar reviews so your practice looks balanced. What do you think the answer is? So this is what we talked about, because this very well can happen easily, especially if you're involved in some type of optimization, or if you have a Google page or something like that where clients can get a hold of it. Many times they want to thank us for the work that we've done, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But how do you handle that? It could end up being detrimental, just depending on which options you take when it occurs. And so for this one, I don't know if the place that you work for or if you're working for yourself, if you have in line some type of policy that discuss this. Because many times when they come in and sign off for the consents, as long as they're made known or aware and you all have talked about the risk, then things are on the table. So C is going to be the correct answer for this one. Do not respond publicly. You don't want to respond publicly. If you respond with a thank you, what does that mean? If you say thank you and that's it, what does that mean? Now, of course, we're not going to go out and say, hey, I'm just so happy about that CBT and that your panic attacks are not there anymore. But you know what? That sounds funny, but some I'll just say some people out there might do that. This is what's going on. And sometimes we just don't know. We don't know any better. And so that's why we just don't assume that our supervisors know everything. Many of them are smart, but if you were to take a look, there has been some silly things that you have done that might cross the ethical line. So we've got to keep that in consideration. We don't know until we know. All right. And so, yes, we will want to go over the policy, review privately with the client in the session. We want to talk about this. Okay. So that was the first one. Okay, and we took time to get into on some of the groups into where in our NASW ethics where we can identify some of the letters, some of the indications that okay, this is not okay. We kind of went through that, went through the breaches. All right, so let's get on to the second one. We have a team now. This one gets more serious as we go. So you have a team client that sends you a follow request on Instagram and messages you. Oh, what time we start? And messages you. I'm sorry. All right, sorry. You have a team client, you that sends you a follow request. I thought I took that out on Instagram and messages you late at night asking for quick coping tips. Now, I don't know that that's really how it works with Instagram and a follow request. And I'm going to get into that because some of us aren't so savvy and you need to be careful what you're doing online because there can we're going to get into it. Things might be happening without you knowing it. If you're checking into somebody else's profile, they might know that you're checking into their profile and you just thought that you were making a little visit. Okay, and is that ethical? We'll talk about that hopefully before we end. So this is what happens with the client. They want want a few coping tips. All right, so what is the most ethical course of action for this particular situation? Should you accept the follow and then send coping tips via DM to be responsive? D, decline it and ignore the follow, then bring it up in the next session to review boundaries and provide crisis after hours procedures. C, accept the follow, but never reply to messages. Or D, reply in the DM that you can engage, but send your personal cell phone number for emergencies only. What would you do? What do you think the answer is? All right, so this is a good one. This again, these answers might seem kind of simple, but we're gonna get into it a little bit more because this case might get even deeper right here. So in this case, we're gonna decline or ignore the follow. I've had I've had clients that you know once your profile gets to a certain point or the way it's set up, some of your social media profile, you don't have to depending on the platform and how it's set up, you don't always have to give a thumbs up for someone to follow you. And so they can just be in there and responding and talking. And sometimes with some clients, it really doesn't matter that you told them, "Hey, I can't communicate through social media," or "Please don't send me any messages." Unfriend me. Now you don't want to say that, right? But sometimes it doesn't matter, but you have to take a stance and position not to respond. Okay, you don't want to cross that line. I'll tell you, you cross the line a little bit, those things come back and bite you in the behind more than what you would know. Okay, so stick with what we know as far as the ethics. All right, so in this situation, we're going to decline, ignore the follow, then bring it up in the next session. And that's what I've done sometimes. But after I've already stated it, if it keeps happening, I kind of just leave it alone. It's like, look, we already talked about this. I can't respond to you on social media because of these different situations and things. If they insist, then I just act like it didn't happen and we get on with the conduct of the session. But certainly, if this is the first time and we need to talk about that. Talk about that and make sure you are able to approach them with some solutions so that they can have other alternatives of connecting with you. All right. So now this one is going to get a little bit more dicey here. Okay. So let's just say we have this same teenager. Okay. And what if they are not saying, hey, I just need to talk to you, but they're saying, you know what? I am suicidal. Okay. And the crazy thing is that the way that social media works is that you can see things without even trying to see it. Okay. Um, and so, but you don't want to not see it if you if you saw it. So what do you do? What do you do? They're saying that they're suicidal, that they're thinking about harming themselves. They're on social media. You all haven't been communicating on social media. What do you do? So here we go. Here's the question that we pose. A teenage client starts to follow you on Instagram, and later that night, they message you directly through the app, stating that they are suicidal and don't know who else to talk to. You know what? And I was talking about this in supervision is that sometimes you may explain certain things to your clients, but you know what? When you feel like you're drowning, you don't care about boundaries. You may be the first and only person that they have felt confident with talking to, who confident in talking to about these very deep, intimate, and scary things that's happening in their lives. And so sometimes, we may, hey, say there's a boundary, don't do this or whatever. We need to stick with the boundaries, but we also need to understand when somebody is drowning. Okay. I know when I swim in 5 feet of water, I haven't been swimming lately because I just get tired of feeling like I'm going to die every time I get out of breath. But in 5 feet of water, you can get irrational, let alone if you're in deep water, the first person there, you're going to pull them under. My point is that when you are drowning, when you are suffocating in life, sometimes boundaries, as far as social media and things like that, it doesn't mean much, does it? I'm just trying to get air. I'm just trying to live. I'm just trying to get help. So we want to be very sensitive with our clients, but don't let that allow for you to cross over the line because that's where some of us start getting into trouble, having those bleeding hearts, and then we start doing something that we should not have been doing. So in this case, got a suicidal client, do you accept the follow and then begin a supportive conversation through Instagram to help de-escalate the situation and make the client feel safe? B, do not respond through Instagram. Instead, immediately activate your crisis protocol. This may include contacting emergency services, notifying a guardian if applicable, and following up through official clinical channels. C, decline the follow request and ignore the message entirely to maintain appropriate boundaries and avoid ethical violations related to dual relationships. Or D, respond once through Instagram to express concern, explain that Instagram is not a safe platform for communication, and encourage the client to reach out through your professional line or a crisis hotline. Uh, See, and this is the thing, you have to choose the correct option on this. You are definitely in this case going to respond to the client. Okay. In my opinion. Okay. You may not choose to respond through Instagram because, again, we're looking for the best answer. But I'm going to tell you something because these are difficult. These are difficult. And this can happen to you. God forbid it happens to you. But we have to recognize that safety is number one. Safety is number one. And so, no matter what the situation is, you have to understand that sometimes when it comes to saving someone's life, we end up crossing some of the lines of even confidentiality or protocols that we might not normally follow. Okay. And so that's something to keep in mind. um in this scenario, B might be the best answer, but I'm just going to go outside of this. Like, don't do this on the exam. They say on the exam, it's not about what you would actually do in real life, it's about how they want you to answer. But safety is number one here, and what you want to do is be aggressive about pursuing help. Okay. And that's where I'm gonna leave it at right there. Be aggressive about pursuing help. Activate your crisis protocol immediately. Contact emergency services and or the client's guardian or whoever can help out with this situation. Document this event like none other. You don't want to miss any, because see, the thing what we have to realize, what if you don't respond? What if you just say, I'm off. Oh, I saw it, but I didn't see it. What if you read it? Because some parts of the technology, it'll show if you check the message. Okay, there's a lot of reasons why you want to be careful about this, but the number one thing is safety. Okay, if they are in need, we've got to get them some help. We can discuss down the road, like, all right, next time this is what I need you to do as far as boundaries with social media and things like that. You can do that later, but we want to follow the appropriate protocols to make sure that they are safe. All right, and this is the last one here. This is the last one here, right? I try to make them as interesting as possible, and sometimes these are based on real life scenarios. Okay. You are providing couples counseling to a client and their partner. One evening, you see a local news report, watch out, that states that the client was arrested for domestic violence. The client has not disclosed this to you. What is the most ethical and clinically appropriate step to take? A, bring up the arrest immediately in the next session, using the news report as evidence to confront the client. B, do not mention it at all because outside information is irrelevant to therapy. C, wait to see if the client or partner discloses it while preparing to assess for safety and risk if the matter arises. D, document the arrest as if it were a verified clinical fact since it was reported in the news. Okay, so this one is another tricky one, right? So you know, finding things on the news, the newspaper, whatever other paper, the most wanted papers or whatever they have around. I forget what they those papers they have around our area sometimes with the mug shots and everybody that got arrested. That is not the best practice to bring these things into the therapy room. But number one, again, we want to make sure that we are protecting best for the client's safety. Um, it's probably not going to be the best practice to just bring this up in the session. Okay. But you have to find the proper way to make sure that that client is safe. Now, this is a little bit different than when we're working with a child as well, as this is something to keep in mind as well. Now, that adult, by now, I hope that we have discussed or will discuss, hint, hint, protocols as far as safety and who you might need to call if there was any you might just randomly bring it up. You know what I'm saying? You really have to be careful with that. It's going to be your judgment, but it's up to you to make sure that your client is safe. But as far as bringing outside information, it's probably going to be best to allow for the partner to disclose, okay, while preparing to assess for safety and risk if the matter arises. This might be a great opportunity as well to maybe decide that you need to meet with them one on one, because often when you're meeting with couples, it's common that we meet one on one. So it just might, just be a situation, and then at that time you might talk to that gentleman if his wife has been abusing him and say, hey, do you need a safety plan? I know a lot of y'all like is not, that's not how it goes, but sometimes it is. It's actually, it happens like that. Um, and we got into that actually in the session about those exchanges. But of course, most of the time it is the male who is the aggressor. And it just depends on the dynamic of the situation because it could be a same sex situation as well. And so then we just don't know. And that's really not important. The important thing is like, okay, are we safe? Are we safe? Okay. And so that's what we're going to be looking at here in this situation. All right. One thing I want to know. Okay. So when it comes to social media, some of the things that we have to keep in mind, y'all, is that we don't want to be creeping up on our clients' accounts. Some of us that maybe around my age or older or even younger, some of us actually even younger that just don't do social media that much, but then you decide, oh, you know what, I'm going to check out this profile. You might not want to do that. Okay. This is not encouraged. We want to avoid, by all means, uh, you know, going and checking out clients' profiles. Some of us aren't aware because some of you all been creeping that I believe on stories. I think I got this. Well, I got this confirmed in one of the groups because I'm not so savvy either. That with stories, some of the Facebook stories, like they can see your name if you checked it. Okay, if you're looking at certain things. And then also on TikTok. I believe that if you look at something on someone's profile that they've posted, they may be able to identify directly that you came on to that page. Don't take it away if it's wrong, take it from the record. But that's my understanding. And so here it is. How creepy is that to see that my therapist is kind of watching and searching my profile on their own time. Sometimes that might creep somebody out, especially if they have trust issues. On the flip side, what if your client has a crush on you or something like that? They really kind of, I've had supervisees come, and some of these clients come direct. They're trying to take them out on dates and things like that. Okay, so now that might be making them think even more that they can cross that line. All right, so we want to make sure we maintain correct boundaries when it comes to practicing social work. And we're going to go on and end it there. Oh, I always forget just before. Hey, look, we've got a free continuing education coming up that I want to make you aware of. And that will be, I just released the marketing on this, and let's see if we can pull this up. But yes, we have and it's going to be on next month. It's going to be on next month, and we're going to have awesome speakers, or actually just one speaker. And here we go. We're going to share the screen now. All right. And oh, this is a great topic, addressing disordered eating and body image concerns in sports nutrition. I encourage you to just go on and book ahead of time. Of course, if you're part of Social Workers Alabama, you get a little special on the rate and things like that. But you want to book this one ahead of time because we max out at 100, and you want to come early just in case there's any tech. Okay, and so we want to see you there, and we're excited um about this presentation. Our speaker is going to be at least, oh, I don't want to mess up her name today, but you want to make sure that you check out this presentation by Miss Reno Smith, or Dr. Reno Smith, and we are so excited that she will be presenting for us on this topic. All right, and so we're going to end here, and we will see you all on next week. Oh, I'm missing one other thing too. Let me show you this. Oh, we didn't need to show you that. Let me show you this too. All right, we have a training coming up, and we want you to be a part of that. Um, it's a supervisor training that'll be on November 3rd and 4th, 2025, of course. And then we have another one, a DSM-5 training, also coming up that we want you to check out. Okay. We hope to talk to you soon. Y'all take care.